everyone, welcome to, I think this will be our sixth lecture together also, Family Health Medical School. I would like to commend the class. I think so far you're doing fine. Like I said earlier on, we're mopping up before we start today's session off record. I've seen the feedbacks, your assessment, turn around is good. I think participation is very good. And like I've said, almost every time we meet since week one, if you keep that, it will show. It normally shows in the finished work, which is your grading. So keep that up. Want to quickly build on what we have polished up in terms of our discussion so far. We took that off record so that I don't have to lengthy recording. So they want to look at the normative versus the empirical. These are two senses of the word law. Can I have one of you set us up like I always do? Some people are not able to read that anyone is, but it helps. So when you hear it, then hopefully we can tell helping us or not. So let's have one of you read so that we can explain. Please put up your hand if you want to read for us. Anyone at all who wants to read? Oh dear. Okay, so there are so many hands up now. I'll take Yebu. Yebu, go ahead. Thank you.
Session overview. Think of an example where someone is criticizing on moral grounds the legitimacy or justness of a civil statute or law. Imagine a situation where there is a conflict between something that's an accepted practice on legal grounds, but is regarded as unacceptable on moral grounds. These examples and situations illustrate that there must be more than one sense we attribute to the notion of law.
Very good. Please read the second half.
To avoid being fooled by switching connotations without indication, this session introduces the critical thinker to the different senses of the law.
Very good. So you will see that when you hear that someone is breaking the law, the question you must ask is which sense of the word law is the person breaking? And I think you saw it when we looked at how people equivocate on the word law itself, freedom. No problem. And lady, please read this one too for me. Patiently, but everyone listen.
Review: factual statements versus value judgments. Factual statements are expressions that describe the way the world is. What this means is that they give a report of the way the world is as we experience them with our senses. We call them empirical because they are expressions derived from experience or observations, and they are verifiable. Value judgments, on the other hand, are expressions that prescribe or evaluate the way the world or things or someone should or ought to be. We call them normative because they state standards or norms to prescribe or evaluate an action or behavior or something.
Any questions with that? You'll see that this is what we saw in Unit 1. It's just a call-up because we are going to use it. When we saw the types of declaratives, Unit 1, the first lecture, you remember, after we saw imperatives, interrogatives, motive expression, sentence fragment, and we saw declarative, and we said it's only declarative that have truth value. Only declaratives can be either true or false. We said that. Then we said, even the declaratives, there are three ways of determining the truth or false. There's value judgment, factual statement, and definition. It is that value judgment and factual statement that we are recalling here, because it will be essential to how we conceptualize the word law. We call value judgment normative. It prescribes how it should be done. You shouldn't talk back at your mother. That is a normative statement. It's a value judgment. I'm saying it is wrong to talk back at your mother. It's not describing, it is prescribing. Prescription says you should do this, it shouldn't be that. This is how it should have been. It's normative. Okay. So when you hear normative, when you hear, we've done all that. So you see that this is a revision. Strengthening your foundation so that we transfer that knowledge to the new concept you are going to discuss. Remember definition. You move from the known definiendo, from the known definitions to the unknown. If you don't know a word, I use what you know to help you know what you don't know. That's definitions, giving meaning. So I'm going to show you what you know already, no factual statement versus value judgment. Now we will use that to show you that what we call factual statement is what is at play when you hear an empirical law. It is describing how things are, not how things should be. So what I see, what I have seen constantly, look on your screen, please, happening is what I have used to generate the law, the regularity. Whenever it rained in the past, the ground got wet. By observation, I saw it. If I didn't, I heard it. If I didn't hear, I tasted it. If I didn't taste it. So by the particular instances, I gathered that information, factually speaking. So I conclude, therefore, that whenever it rains, the ground will be wet. This is a generalization. In the past, when it rained at Nuba, the ground got wet. That's a particular statement. When it rained at Tema, the ground got wet. When it rained at Legon, the ground, therefore, whenever it rains, this is a general statement now. You are making a regularity, a statement of regularity. Whenever it rains, the ground will be wet. How did I arrive at this regulation, this law? I saw particular instances. I heard particular instances. But this seeing and hearing was based, look on my screen, please, on what? Factual observations that have been made. So Yaya got pregnant and she delivered in 9 months time after the pregnancy. Ajo got pregnant, she delivered 9 months afterwards. Achu's wife also got pregnant, delivered 3 months. Baba got pregnant, she too. So you then, based on these particular factual instances, what? That's why this is relevant for your institution. Based on these particular instances, the empirical scientist, the one who studies, who science depends on what has been observed, what we have seen. That empirical scientist will depend on these particular instances of childbirth duration by Baba, Achu's wife, Zainab, etc. These particular instances, where each one of them delivered in 9 months, will therefore depend on that factually. It's a factual matter, and conclude that then, whenever a woman gets pregnant, she will deliver in 9 months' time. That is an empirical. Look on my screen, please. I said that several times, as if I can intuitively think that you have started looking something. It's an empirical generalization. So back to here. When you have an empirical generalization, it is only describing how the world is so far, what observation has showed you. Whenever you hit that iron, look at that iron strip lying there, expanded when we hit it, it's a metal. The copper, the expanded when heated. The bronze iron bar expanded, the bronze bar expanded when heated. I'm citing particular observation statements to therefore conclude that, oh, then all metals will expand when heated, or all metals expand when heated. That is an empirical generalization. There's something I'm getting at understand empirical versus the normative. And you see how to deal with empirical laws. When you claim you have discovered a pattern whilst observing the world, and so you conclude, therefore, that whenever a woman gets pregnant, she'll deliver in 9 months. Every COVID-19 patient worse than or dies in so and so and so. Okay? Every sickle cell anemic patient, so and so and so and so. These are generalizations, people. But which type of generalization is that? Which type of law is that? They are empirical in nature. So what should we do? If they're empirical in nature, should the world come to an end? No. It means you have to check how you interpret the application of that law. How you think that law will happen. How you expect that law to be obeyed. On my screen now, that's where we are now. Empirical laws belong to the laws we call natural laws. Natural. They're empirical in nature. We have observed that whenever prices of goods and services are increased, people buy less. That is economics. It's still an empirical science. It's studying human behavior. Okay? Whenever you increase prices, people buy less. So it becomes a regulation. You have an expectation because of how you've seen the world so far. It's empirical in nature. It is not telling us how we should behave. There comes my distinction. Because prices could go up and I can decide to buy more. I don't want to give you the money. I can decide to buy more. I will spoil your law. You can't force me. Don't you know that prices have increased? So you have to buy less so that my law of economics will be true. No, you can't enforce it. Why? Because the law is a discovery. You discover it from what? Observation. You may be wrong about what you think you have discovered. You may uncover several other laws that will nullify what you thought you knew if you are dealing with an empirical law. Empirical laws are not certainties. They can fail as further research goes on and on and on. Okay. Unlike a normative law. So what? I'm saying that there is something about normative laws, which I have not explained yet. Okay, but I'm showing you the contrast. That empirical laws don't have. There's something about normative laws. What is that? Normative laws are enforced because of the nature of the law. They are not compiling records of the past to say that because the past has been like this all this while, therefore we should expect that tomorrow to be like that. That's the logic of empirical generalization. Normative doesn't say that. What does it say? It says this is how we should do things. Should, or some say must, or ought to be. So when we talk about laws that prescribe how you should behave, you cannot have an exception. Mathematics says when you have 2 and you add 3 to it, it must be 5. Must. It's not describing, it's telling you how you should add. What's the other one? Civil laws. Let's use those ones. You cannot enter into someone's room without their permission and go and take their TV and go outside. It's called thievery. You have stolen. You should behave in a certain way if you want to be a proper civilian. If you don't, you will be made to conform. It is enforced. Look on my screen. That's a normative law. So you see that those of you who may have had the test, you see the laws we are going to discuss are what? Either natural law, which is what? Empirical law, scientific law, empirical in nature, okay, on one side, or normative law, those that are enforceable, that requires you to act. When I say scientific, everything in political science adopts a lot of observation. You look at how people vote and say that, if I look at Ketu South and Bantaman North or whatever, then this coming election, to my prediction is that there we go. The pollster, that's what he's doing, telling you that then I think this will be the trend. It's not a certainty, that's why it fails. But it's a prediction based on how the past has been observed. So So it is empirical in nature. The medical doctor yourself will look at patterns and see whenever people come with such a spread of cancer or so and so and so. I have observed that with Achu, but I keep using that name. Forgive me, but there's nothing connected to about that. Zaina, Mansa, Baba, they all had that in the past, and this is the result. So it is likely that there we go. It's a prediction, an informed prediction. That's the methodology we are using. You're not talking certainty because you are dealing with a law that can fail. It's a prediction. Okay. If you got that, and you see that the empirical can fail, make your notes if you're writing. Apart from the slides, I'll share that. The empirical can fail. Which empirical or empirical law as an empirical regulation can fail? That's one. Empirical laws should be conceived as a prediction. Right, that's point 2. 3, empirical laws are derived from what? Factual observations of past particular events. Write it down. Based on factual observation of past particular events. That's factual law. Let's contrast that, and that's why scientific laws are described as what? Factual laws or empirical laws or predictive laws. They predict. A prediction means it can fail. Add another point. That is why factual laws admit, or empirical laws, scientific laws, natural laws, all of them are referring to the same type. What else are we adding? They admit of what? Deviation. That means if you go and the IIS pregnancy comes 7 months, you don't tell the baby that you have to remain in your mother's tummy. The law of biology says children must remain for 9 months. That is what the norm has. Everybody has done that. You to conform and remain in your mommy's tummy till 9 months. Is that what you do? No. You let the baby come and you go and change your law. I'm talking about empirical law. You change it and say, oh, we thought every pregnancy must be 9 months, but we just had a preterm baby. That then they can be preterm. So what you thought you knew all this while, based on observation, can change. That is why empirical laws, the point we are writing is that it admits of what? Exception. When there is a deviation, something contrary to what you knew all this while, you embrace it. Contrary and opposite to what your observation has been all this while, you absorb it. Why? Because you are discovering things. The things are covered and you are uncovering it. That's the physical world for you. Human behavior for you. So as you uncover, you will find out something new than what you had already known. It is not something you put there, which is the feature of most of the normative laws. It is laws that we have made for ourselves, not all of them, because divine laws are there. It's prescriptive, yes, not made by man. But some think even divine laws are man discovered, therefore it's man. So that's another debate. But what is key for normative laws, which is distinct from the one we have studied so far, I've stressed the empirical because that is what is important for you. I'm only adding the normative, which is still part of your tools. They work hand in hand. But your discipline is more empirical. You investigate, you find out what is in the overview of the person, find out why the child is not eating, what could be eating into the teeth, from dentist to gynecologist. Well, that's what I just did. So because you approach your study is heavily empirical in nature, you have to understand how you look for regularities or patterns and expect that for others. Have the sense of what? Prediction. Have a possible expectation of what? A counterfactual. Something may go contrary to what has been the norm. It is okay if you are dealing with an empirical study. You don't have to force every event to conform to what your law, because the law is not scientific law, is not normative. Very good. So it admits of exception. That should be the fourth point. If you listen to me and you are making the note. And so the law can change to accommodate exception. The law can change or can be changed because of what? The opposition, the counterfactual. Now, all of what we have said is not a feature of normative law. So let's look at some laws. Someone read this quickly and then we'll move on. I hope that people are following. Abner, try read for me.
Yes.
Abner, yes, please read what you see on the screen. Okay, go ahead. Natural law now.
Natural law. Natural laws, also called scientific laws, refer to statements that express laws about nature, living things, rivers, celestial bodies, etc. They are defined as statements that aim to describe the regularities or uniformities in the patterns of events or features of things we observe around us. They are formed based on our past experiences. For instance, we observe that at any point in time, when a fish is taken out of water for a maximum of 5 minutes, it dies. So we conclude that all fish survive in water. As a statement that expresses an attribute or a property that applies to all fish anywhere, anytime.
Very good. Now, what Madame read, if you look at it, how did we ever know or come to think that if it is a fish, then when you take it out of the water, it won't survive? Oh, we want it alive for our aquarium. Please, please, please. How have you removed it from the water? Oh, don't do that. It will die. You have become a prophetess, predicting what can happen if you take the fish out of water. Why? Because in the past, there we go. It's based on facts, actual observation. That is not dependent on your because based on past observations, whenever you took a fish out of water, it wouldn't survive. If that is true, then you want to be careful not to take the next fish out of water. So you make it a generalization, especially when you see something often. So whenever you throw a ball up, it comes down. That's what inspires scientific research. That's why you want to, what makes this ball that I threw come down? You threw something up and come down. Why? So the scientists, depending on which field, will keep investigating, the physicists or investigate and find them well. There's a certain law. The gravity of the item you threw, the weight, you pull it down. So they call the force of gravity. And they continue. Yet it happens that when an aeroplane takes off with a certain angle, look at the weight of the aeroplane. It doesn't come down. Maybe if we are able to cross it this way and do this and have a shape like this, you see the shape of the aeroplane, like a bird, then it can overcome that force. So the scientist is only, empirical scientist, that is only discovering based on observation. My lady, read this also. Then we take the next person.
Okay. Examples. 1. Every planet moves around the sun in an elliptical orbit. All metals expand when heated. 2. 3. Any physical object that goes up must come down. 4. All green plants use sunlight for photosynthesis. 5. All fish live in water. 6. Every human being breathes oxygen. NB. Natural law statements have no exceptions and are therefore called law-like. But there is no way to be absolutely certain that such statements will always be true. So they are called law-like because maybe someday counter evidence will make them false.
And counter evidence has already made them false. So I told my colleague that as for have no exception, that you should take it off the slide. I just pulled this from the UG, the main campus site, the compiled readings we are working with to make it easier for us. I told him, don't worry yourself, have no exceptions. If we already know that we can't be certain about it, then how can we say it has no exception? You get my point. So it has no exception. It's just language. It can fail. That's why we are not even what absolutely certain about it. Every planet moves around the sun in an elliptical orbit. That has already been falsified. Yeah, all metals expand when heated. It has already been falsified. When I say falsified, we have already encountered metal that will not expand when heated. That's what they used to do special jewelry for the queen and people like that. It won't expand. You can put it in fire for all like it won't. Because when we found many metals, particular metals that expanded when heated, we expected that, oh, then it means all metals will do that. But some don't. We just found them. All sickle cell, pandemic, whatever, patients who in the past, that was a generalization, will not exceed a certain age bracket because of the nature of their cells. That was the supposed diagnosis until further research has come to nullify that. Okay, any physical object that goes up must come down. It's an aeroplane, not a physical object. When it goes up, it doesn't come. Because another law. I mean, I always use this. When you throw your small pen or your phone into the pool of water, it will sink. When you, this human being, you try to stand on because of the law of flotation. You can't float when the density up is blah blah blah. Okay, so it will sink. But look at a boatload of people. They'll be sinking on the surface of the they'll be floating at the surface of the water. So it is you discover laws to help you. I'm talking about empirical law. Navigate the world, but you are always mindful of what you thought you knew may be what based on what you have discovered so far. But the world was created, it has an owner. There may be other laws that you will find out that are not knowing if he's a sickle cell patient, for example, and he also has so and so and so in his system. It can neutralize that and it might even become, you may find that out, you see. So you make it open. Science is not dogma. It has to open itself out for research and never have a conclusive, I'm done, I'm finished, posture to its empirical study. No. Therefore, there is always the possibility of a counterfactual when you are dealing with what? Natural laws. And we have said that natural laws, social science, empirical are all empirical in nature. Okay, they're all empirical laws. Thank you so much, my lady. Now I can take an alternative reader. Abna, thank you. So I would want, yeah, John Michael, please read for me. Thank you. I see Emmanuel, Felicity, John, Samuel. So go ahead, John.
Natural laws are disguised predictions. They predict about future realities. The statement all metals expand when heated means that if you come across any metallic object and heat it, then expect it to expand. But what if you discover a new metal and it does not expand upon heating it? Then it will make the statement all metals expand when heated to be false. Scientific laws always depend upon evidence and they are predictions. They may turn out to be false, so we call them law-like statements or hypotheses. MB, since they describe regularities and uniformities in the patterns of events around us, they are empirical.
Very good. Well read. I don't think there's any question. Everything here I've said it. And I think that you understand. The same thing is built on here. I want to move on now to the normative laws, the ones that are not empirical, not based on our observation. It is rather how we think things should be done. That's why people are tempted to say all normative laws are man-made. Not all of them are man-made, but you can have mathematical laws. Some believe that mathematics is not created by man. The whole world is built on maths, so it is divinely inspired. Mm. When we have divine laws, they are not man-made. That shall not the 10 Commandments, the Sharia law. No. The authors don't believe that they created it. They believe that it was a supreme being that gave them. But these laws all prescribe how you should behave. Do not take, do not bear with, thou shalt not, So they are telling you it is wrong to, They're all prescriptive. But let's take the ones that are easily accessible to us, civil laws and statutory laws. In one state, you can't take, okay. So where you are not permitted to go and take, like I said earlier, someone's item without their permission, you'll be breaking a certain law. The laws that govern the civilian body, civil laws, and the state statutory laws. It is normative, meaning this law will not permit exemption, cannot admit a counterfactual. Remember what we said with the earlier one. This law cannot allow you to do things the way you want. If you steal, you will be made to conform. How? You'll be punished. To tell you that that is not how you should behave. But you can't punish the baby that came before the 9 months. Who is going to punish that baby? That she has broken a law. Which law? That law is breakable. It must actually be broken for science to progress in knowledge. So that one is empirical. But the normative one is a different connotation, different meaning of law, which is actually what a law should be. A regulation that does not admit of failure. The law is no respecter of person. It is the law. So civil, or if you like, statutory law is normative and it's prescriptive, meaning that what? It tells you how you should behave. So look at our commercial laws, tax laws. You can't have your own company and decide on how you want to tax people or your goods, that kind of tax you should pay. No, there's a law that everyone in that either company or whatever nation must, it's not negotiated, must be. Okay? And if you don't conform to it, you will be made to. There are sanctions attached to make you obey them. They are enforceable. That is the point I'm making. Civil laws. Look at several of them. Criminal laws, rules of electoral process, land tenure system, regulation, etc. Okay, some more examples to show you. Customary law is also normative. I've done most of the talking, but I believe that you understand it. So there are customs that you are expected to obey if you belong to that group. That is what you were told. If you go to Rome, you got to do what the Romans do. I say if you go to Ashanti, you have to do what Ashanti people do. Why? Because the laws that govern them, customary laws, are what? Prescriptive. They prescribe how you should behave. Let's have Felicity read for me. Customary law.
Okay. Just like the civil laws or statutory laws, they are man-made and also have sanctions attached to them to regulate behaviors of the members of a particular community, clan, or lineage. The system of authority that enforces the customary laws are chiefs, clan heads, etc. Examples: 1. Taboos like incest, not farming or fishing on a particular day. 2. The traditional customary marriage. 3. Acknowledgements of chiefs as traditional custodians of lands. 4. Traditional inheritance system and marriage system, etc.
Very good. All
And,
these, oh, sorry. Read ahead. Hey, go on.
and B. Customary laws are also normative.
Very good. They are also normative. That is all the point here. Because now you have a fair idea, I believe, of what normativity is compared to empirical nature of laws. So that you don't confuse the two. When you are in your seat at the hospital, you may be dealing sometimes with what? normative matters, which you cannot impose an empirical issue on without knowledge. The person says it is a taboo, or my religion does not permit taking pork, or I am vegetarian. So the kind of antibiotic, or like better so the food supplement you are giving me cannot have new whatever. Or if you don't tell the person that it is not important, he's telling you that this one is not one that we do eat it. You're allergic to it. He or she is dealing with some other thing. If you have an alternative, give it. If not, let the person know that, well, I'm sorry, it's here. So your choice. If you got that, you see. So see the insects, the taboos. What have you? I cannot eat. I'm in a period of my Ramadan fast. Don't tell you, look, be serious with your health. When it's not any major health matter, I say take the para so that you feel, or there's menstrual cramps or something. So there's a painkiller of a high potency. Each and they say, oh, I'm weak, I'm drained. Look, what is this thing? Forget those things. No. People are not regulated by only what empirical laws. There are customary laws, there are religious, or if you like divine laws. And if it is divine, customary, and the other one, cultural norms, there are quite a moral code for my screen. You can't just dismiss it and do it your way. Then I'm coming to lecture at Family Health, and I come in my bikini and get into the class, say, hi class, how's everyone doing? So today we're going to discuss normative laws in my bikini. Hey, I'm a mother of four. Look at what happened. It is not acceptable. I can do same at the swimming pool, and no one will even take notice. But that's what it's worth. I think I said that in one of our discussions. I told you that when the person is running a 100-meter race or any other race during an athletic event, the person cannot go and wear suit and tie in the name of covering up. No, it will be out of place to wear kaba and slit, the African cloth with the chief's slippers, to run 100 meters because you want to be modest and chaste and holy. It will be it will be out of place. So I'm saying that the same way that it will be wrong for you to come to wear the lecture hall in a swimwear, it's inappropriate. We will enforce it how? With our eyebrows and our chuckling and our demeanor. To tell you that you are going against a certain social norm, for example, moral code, for example. There are quite a number of codes that I've sent it to you for you to reflect on. That just find code from season. So social norms or social conventions, there's a culture on Legon campus. You can't come to the gentleman, one of the gentlemen's halls in a certain attire, in a certain color. Then that is a bit. But in the past, if you came there wearing red, they would sing at you, especially the ladies. You will miss your step when you are walking past in red. Red is cocoa in tree. So they say cocoa, 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 cocoa. Some of you, even a lecture, if you enter the lecture hall wearing red, then that hall, the students in the lecture room will whistle. You won't know who is whistling, but they learn how to do it. So they are looking at you and you are teaching, but you hear the whistle all over. And the whistle will be doing cocoa, 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 red, oh, red, red, oh, red. Seeming to say that it is allergic to wear red. Why are you wearing red? It's a social convention. They will make you conform. That's the point I'm making. Sometimes you ask, am I doing something wrong? You could say something, everybody will start laughing. Or everybody will look at you in a certain way. Am I hurting a certain cultural norm? The point is, these are all what normative. I just want you to see, so you see the distinction between that and what? The empirical one, which we study. This is logical. Logic is also normative. It tells you how to think. It is not, you can't say I was here, but however, when I wasn't here, what are you saying? Were you here or you're not here? You are hurting the laws of logic. You see, I have never seen this lady before. Not in my life. This is my first time seeing her. However, the thing is that the day I saw her, I didn't touch her. What are you saying, Brian? Have you ever seen her or you haven't seen her? Because if you say you have never seen her in your life, however, the day you saw her, you didn't touch her, you have a problem of contradiction. Logic can't admit that. You can't say, I am here and I'm not here at the same time and in the same respect. I can be here and not be here in two different ways. I can be here physically, but my mind cannot be here. Maybe my mind is at home, checking my rice cooker that I didn't switch on, or the iron that I left on. So my physical body here, my mind at home. That's not a contradiction. But if I say I am here physically, I'm talking about my physical me, and at the same time I'm not here, that is a problem for the logician. I'm showing you just one instance. It's called the principle of non-contradiction. One instance of how you must think, how you should think, not how we think, but how we should think. So this logic is not a description. That's why it queries. So if you go against how you should do it, you'll be told that this is wrong. If you go to the market, and I'm done, I'm almost done doing mathematical law now. You go to the supermarket near you to shop for provisions, maybe Milo, some bread and some cheese and milk, some eggs for your breakfast. So I want 1 cedi egg, I want 3 cedis milk, I want 2 cedis bread. 1 plus 3 plus 2 cedis should give you 6 cedis. Should. It's not a description. It's a prescription. It should. That is what the total must be 6. Then you tell the woman that 3 plus 2 plus 1 can be 4. The woman will beat you into conformity. She will beat you for you to conform to the law. Don't say, but you don't go to school, you don't know how to even write 2 plus 3. Well, she doesn't have to need to know how to write or see the oranges to know that 3 oranges plus 2 oranges will be equal to 5 oranges. She doesn't have to see it. She just has to understand the meaning. That is why math is not descriptive, it is normative. If it is 3 and you added 2, then it must be 5. So I may not be able to see, maybe I'm visually impaired, I don't see. But if you told me, so let me look for names on my screen to use. If Amina told me that, oh, Elvis just came to pass by, I'm visually impaired, God forbid, so I'm asking for arms, which we shouldn't do if we are impaired, okay? But maybe things are high. So Amina is assisting me so that I don't fall. She can see very well, but maybe I have that problem. Then she tells me Elvis came to pass to your colleague at the medical school. No. Oh, he came to pass. He has given you 5 cities, Ghana city. Oh, God bless him. Elvis, God will bless him. Oh, my brother. No. Then soon after, I've told you I don't see. Soon after, Amina tells me that Crystal just came to pass through. She's also going to the shop here. She didn't even know it was you. Then she thinks, but she has also given you 3 cities. Take note, it was 5 cities earlier and 3 cities later. The person cannot see who is giving the information. Amina, she's telling us. God forbid that for me. So you told her 5 cities earlier, and now we have added 3 cities. Now we want to go home because we are tired. You haven't told her that any additional one has come. It could be the others came by you now. Amina has pushed them at the side and side. But the ones that you told her was what? 5 cities first from Elvis and 3 cities next from Chrysler. The question then is, Nancy asks Amina, so Now that we have 8 cities, what can we buy this evening? Amina said, how did we get 8 cities? They said, oh, when you said so and so gave me 5 cities, so and so gave me 3 cities, or it was a mistake you made. They said, no, I didn't make a mistake. Yes, it was 5 cities and then 3 cities, but that is equal to 4 cities, not 8 cities. What do you think Nancy's stick, the white king, will do to Amina? I can't see you, but I'll look for her with my stick. It will be doing good. I will find her because I don't have to see to understand math. That's the point I'm making with all the illustration. Math is, or mathematical laws are what? Normative. Their meanings, their definitions, their value judgments. So they tell you this is how you must do it, just like logic. It's not a description which is contingent. So if I'm watching to tell you right now it is raining, the next minute the statement it is raining can be false because it is based on what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you taste. So right now Nancy is speaking. So it is true that Nancy is speaking. When I stop and Catherine Asiedu speaks, the statement Nancy is speaking right now will become false the next minute that Catherine Asiedu takes over because it is a factual statement. Factual statements don't have necessities associated with them. They're not necessarily true or necessarily false. They are only contingently true or contingently false. It always depends on what we know, what is happening so far. If you got that, then you will see why the normative is not the same as what the empirical in many respects that we have gone through. I saw a hand up. Was there a question? Let's take it, and then we can wrap up nicely. So some instances on your screen to show some general mathematical laws. You don't divide by 0. When you are told to add, the meaning of addition is not the same as subtraction. You can't have your own meaning of division and multiplication. No. Remember well-defined terms versus open textured terms, and why we said logic, math, some aspects of physics are the only well-defined concepts. I told you not to think of that to mean that there's any privileged position for this. I'm a logician. It's not a privileged position. It's because the tool is not dealing with content. It's just dealing with form, structure. So it's just the form or the structure we are dealing with. That is why. So if it is the form, it has to be fixed to have a common reference point. And when you're doing inductive reasoning, you are dealing with content, so it will vary. It keeps varying. That's why deduction has certainty. So deductive studies like mathematics, logic, have certainty attached to it because they're not dealing with the content, they're dealing with the form. So if this happens, then this will follow. This has happened, therefore this will follow. You need to. You don't know what the this and that are. If you study, then you will pass. You have studied. It has to follow the order you pass if you are looking at the form of it. But the content proper may not be so. If you study, then you will pass. You have studied. What if you don't live to the day that you write the exams, let alone pass? How would that happen? But that is now focusing on content, which is not a preoccupation of mathematics or logic. You see that? So the deductive studies shouldn't think that it's a place of pride and arrogance. No, when we say they are certain. No, rather, I think the empirically oriented subjects give us what? Information that will help us navigate them. Just that the problem with them also, there is no certainty. So the doctor will tell you, well, as for this fibroid, you can't give birth. You go to the traditionalist, you apply herbs, and you are giving birth to triplets and quadruplets. Not because the empirical scientists didn't do their job well based on their research. No, the research was just not up to the scratch. No matter how high the technology is, it can never claim to know everything about the physical world that they didn't create. That's the difference. Okay? If not, then COVID shouldn't have killed more people outside of Africa with less technology than it did. See? The technologically advanced, and if you like, those who had so much know-how about health and had machines and technology to take care of it, had a lot of casualties. Then the African people were here eating and having a crowded gatherings for funerals and what have you, hugging somebody at church, and we're doing that. And you can check the statistics and see. So what is the point we are making? There has to be a certain extra factor that was still being investigated by the empirical science. So it's not a question of some people have so much technology, others don't have. No. I'm saying that when it's empirical, there is always a possibility of what? Error, because you are dealing with content, subject matter proper. And so it can fail, unlike the one whose whole focus is on just the form. It just looks and sees if you are obeying the pattern. Did you buy 2 yards of cloth for your fashion designing event? Yes, I bought 2 yards first. Then I added 4 extra yards. Then there comes the mathematicians. Then you must have 6 yards. Measure it and let's see. It's just purely form. The same 2 plus 4 can be applied to 2 oranges plus 4 oranges later. Okay, it can apply to 2 women or 2 wives plus 4 wives later. It can apply to 2 trips plus 4 trips. So you see that it is the form, so it's applicable to several things, and yet it's not dealing with the content proper. If you got that, then you see why you should be minded the critical thing. Oh, when we are doing empirical study, any question, we have ended today's session. Any question? Okay, let me stop the record. I'm going to give you work online to do. I want you to do it now. I'm sorry for stressing you, but I'm trying all means to make sure that people are involved in the course. I don't want you to sleep over. Oh yeah, I know what that. Like you forget yourself. For critical thinking, look at the name. It's called critical thinking. It can make you hanya. So I'll give some few exercises. I want it in class. I don't know if I can activate the chat. I would have done it so that I respond in the chat, so you don't do so much work. But maybe people have network issues or whatever. What do you want us to do? Should I leave you to go? Let me hear you.
Ma'am, please leave us to go.
Please.
No, please.
Yes. We are all here.
Ma'am, please. We'll do it later.
No, please.
No,
please.
Hold on, let me talk.
Thank
Let
you,
me hear
ma'am.
from.
Could you repeat where you were saying the internet is really bad?
Is that what?
Repeat what?
Could you please repeat where you were saying the
Yes, I was
question you
saying
were
that
saying about us doing exercise?
the session on what, please? I'm so sorry, Felicity. I can't hear you well. Is it this one? The divine laws. I've
You
already
were saying
explained
something
that.
about us doing an exercise. I didn't
Yes, yes. I was
afterwards
saying
you
that.
kept on.
Okay, I get you now. I was saying that we are done with the content proper, but I wanted to give you an in-class exercise. But should I or should I not? Then I want to hear from Jeremy or Charles Link. They are your class reps. Let me hear from you. Thank you, thank you. Jeremy, let me hear you. Yes. Should we do an in-class?
Give it to us like assignment to some.
No, I want to check and see if you did them yourselves. Okay, so I get it. Where is Charleslyn? Charleslyn, are you there? Did Charleslyn come today? But she's absent. Is she fine? Hey, Auntie, she's not here. Okay, I'll leave you to go.
No, please.
She's not here. Okay, I get it. Please tell her to let me know what the issue was. I don't like it when people miss classes like that, because it may go against them. I don't want that.
Oh, she just
So we'll meet you, please. Thank you. We'll meet, God willing, next week to engage the empirical inductive reasoning in the sciences and everyday life. And I'm going to take the subjective matter. We'll build it from now that we know the difference between what is normatively regulated and what is empirically regulated. The word law is a regulation. Look at that. Which one is normative and which one is what? Empirical. Now that we know this, we'll use it to do a build-up and then enter into inductive reasoning in the sciences and everyday life, where we'll see empirical content, verifiability, predictive power, scientific value, pseudo-scientific nature, etc. We engage that. It's the unit 7 of the test. You can find recordings on that if you want to, as preparatory content before we meet. God willing, next week. Thank you all very much. Oh, there's a hand up. Let me keep that.
Please,
Okay, so the hands up.